this might be the worst recession we ever had. In this video, I'm going to explain you why do I think this recession will be terrible and what assets you should be investing. Okay, let's start here. So this is actually a terminal that I've been building, has lots of really good tools, has an AI that I've been programming to be really good at macro geopolitics. So really good software. So as you can see, the worst recession, I'll say, or in this case, depression, was in 1929 for in the United States. This time around, I think it's going to be global because of the Strait of Hormuz. But around that time, you had most people were buying a lot. It was a time of great success for the United States. And then in 1929, you had the biggest recession ever. It was primarily centered in the US. Had some contagion to Europe, but majority of the world wasn't affected because it was a more isolated economy. Now we have an ultra globalized economy. Supply chains are optimized for efficiency, not resilience, and the financial markets are intertwined to an unprecedented degree. So the most economies are connected. The USA is the biggest buyer in China. China, of course, lots of also its success comes from United States buying there. So if this continues, if the Strait of Hormuz continues closed and 20-30% of the oil doesn't comes from that place, if that is closed and it continues like this, already some countries are having emergencies, but it will be far worse than that. And as you can see here, the problem with this is we have an ultra globalized economy and there is no safe haven. Like most countries are going to suffer, ones more than the others, but we are looking at something really severe. So in 1929, we had energy was a factor, but not the primarily driver of the collapse. Now, if the US-Iran war continues, especially the Strait of Hormuz blockage, not only this raises oil prices, but also chokes the lifeblood of the global economy. We are talking about 20-30% of the global oil supply and a significant portion of also LNG, the gas, potentially disappearing or becoming forbidden. So this is not only about gas prices, it's about fertilizer, transportation, manufacturing, heating, cooling. So there are so many companies, countries that will be affected because of this, and they're already being that if the situation is not solved the next 2-3 weeks, if the Strait of Hormuz is not open and there is some kind of positive de-escalation, we are going to have a massive recession. I think is almost impossible to avoid it if we continue like this. Another thing that will happen here is I think the dollar will lose the reserve currency, the status of reserve currency, because most countries are starting to recognize that USA is taking the wrong decisions. Most countries will start to settle their transactions in other kind of currencies, either their own currencies or in something like yuan. I think China will be the main benefiter of this. The US debt keeps increasing, 39-40 trillion. Inflation will go through the roof now with this war, especially if it continues. So you have a debt to GDP of 100%. You have so much division in USA. I think people are starting to lose their faith in the dollar. And I think the next years we're going to see the collapse of the dollar. At least it's going to lose the reserve currency status because most countries now are afraid because of USA having so much power. But at the same time, these kind of decisions are not making USA having a good image. So as you can see, we had the gold standard in 29. Now we don't have, so they are printing money out of the thin air. There is nothing backing the economy in a way. That's why you have a 39 trillion. So the US weaponize the dollar and its financial system in a severe crisis. Other nations will accelerate efforts to bypass the dollar. If the dollar's reserve status is truly challenged, it triggers massive inflation in the USA, trillions of dollars held overseas coming, flooding back, devaluing the currency, and you have a global financial chaos. Entire system of global trade, debt, and currency exchange is built on the dollar. If it collapses, it's going to collapse many other countries as well. And as I've been saying, the debt is big. In 29, it was high, but not compared to today. You have global debt, government, corporate, household at historic highs, far exceeding 1929. And compared to the GDP, you have a potential energy crisis. So, in my opinion, we have a potential worst recession that we ever seen. I think most assets are going to suffer immensely, especially stocks, because of the supply disruptions coming from Asia. If this continues like this, many of the companies that are the best in the world might struggle. And also, of course, Europe, I think, also is going to be one of the continents that will suffer the most because of the dependency on the oil, on the gas. A lot comes from the Strait of Hormuz. So we are looking at a bad situation. I hope things change in the next few months. But looking at the current situation, it doesn't look like. Also, as you can see here, this is in the terminal I've been building. You can see the current situation and where you have most damage around the Middle East. Here, Israel, Iran. Let's see if this changes. Now let's look at the charts. Bitcoin at 67. So as you can see, we lost this this support zone. We could have a move towards 70, but as you can see, chart is not looking good. I still think we bottom between 60 and 50k. That I think is the bottom for me. If you look at momentum, starting to get to the low. So in a way, when you look at this, we are still in a range. So as you can see, we still didn't lose the range. So until we lose 62k, or in this case, start to close above 73, but with strength, with candles, not only like with wicks. Until then, we are in a range. So between 62 and 72, we are in a range. Above that or below that, that's a different story. If you look on the weekly, momentum is at the lows. That's why I think, honestly, we're going to have a bottom between where we are now and 50k. I think there is a good chance that happens. We could still have a move towards 80k, but the fact that we were unable to break the 75, I think, makes me more confident that we are going to 50k at least. If you look in terms of exponential moving averages, as you can see, we are below the 12 and 21. We had this attempt here at 76, but until we close above this, we are in a bear market. If you look on the daily as well, we had this move above the 12 and 21, but as you can see already, we are definitely in a range. We are breaking the 12 and 21 EMAs very quickly when that happens. Usually means we are in the range. Now let's look at Ethereum. So Ethereum also in a similar situation to Bitcoin, but looks worse, to be honest. For Ethereum to become bullish, we need to close again above 2,400, and then yes, there is not much resistance. We could easily go to 3k. In terms of momentum, the RSI, as you can see, is starting to cross the mid zone. Let's see. Now let's look at Tau Tensor and Hyperliquid. So as you can see, Tau, we had this bearish divergence. As you can see here, I honestly think we come at least to 280 to 250. If Bitcoin starts to really lose momentum, we could even come again to 200, which would be another really good opportunity. With Tau, I know on the long term, this is a massive winner. I think has a lot of potential because AI is super centralized, and decentralized AI is the only really good option we have to fight. And I think Tau is already proving that with subnets, you can actually compete with the biggest centralized AI companies in the world in very different areas. Just starting, subnets are 1 year old, so this is just the beginning. So for Tau, if we come to 280 to 260, this is a good demand zone. Also the 12 and 21 around here. If it starts to close again, say about 350, I think we go back between 400 and 500. Those are the two areas I'm looking at for Tau. Tau against Bitcoin. the chart looks actually good. We are above the 12 and 21. We could go lower, but if you look on the weekly, it seems that is changing. This is a key level for Tau right here. If we start closing above this massive resistance zone for Tau against Bitcoin, we have free ride, I'd say, towards this level here. Also, Tau against Ethereum looks good, breaking the trend as you can see on the weekly. So Zcash having a move today because of the quantum fears, the news that quantum is closer than ever, and that could break Bitcoin encryption. And because of that, Zcash is quantum proof, or at least is one of the few projects working on that. So we are having a move today. Hyperliquid, we are losing a bit of steam. We came into this supply zone here. I think Hype, if it comes between 35 and 30, is a good level to accumulate. RSI also going lower. And the last one, Solana. So as you can see, Solana, the chart also doesn't look that good. Similar to Bitcoin and Ethereum, actually, chart-wise. For Solana to become bullish, we need to close above 100. If we close below $80, yeah, then if you look on the weekly, the next, say, level will be around $60, 60 to 50, which is a good level for Solana. I think with all this chaos, I think crypto provides a really good alternative to the banking system, especially if you are in a war and currencies are devaluing. Crypto, you can print more Bitcoin or more Tau. They have a fixed supply. So I think honestly, crypto in a time like this is a really good tool to escape hyperinflation and escape currencies that are collapsing in real time. So Solana, the levels I would be looking at is between 50 and 60, I think is a good level. We have also this previous supply between 40 and 37, but unless Bitcoin goes to 50, which could happen, I don't think we see Solana here. But overall, I think we're going to have opportunities for Tau, Solana, Hype, Zcash. Those are the only projects I'm bullish. Bitcoin, also Ethereum will be here, but those are the ones I'm most bullish on. So that's it, guys. Thank you very much.